Good evening, everyone, and welcome to the Prince George's Community College Center for Performing Arts Grand Theater. My name is Richard Anatone. I'm a professor of music here at Prince George's Community College, and I'd like to thank you all for joining us today for our last concert of the semester, our live-streamed video game music event. We have a wonderful concert prepared for you today, consisting of a variety of different performers streaming from different locations, performing some of their favorite music from their favorite video games. We'll begin with myself here on Largo, Maryland on piano, after which point I'll head over to my desk and we will be joined by Samantha Ballard on harp from Winnipeg, Canada, followed by 88-Bit, our pianist from Cleveland, Ohio, and our last performer for the evening will be the Videri String Quartet, premiering from Boston, Massachusetts. In between all the performers, we'll have a very short Q&A where I get to pick the brains of all of our performers about anything and everything video game music related. So without further ado, I'd like to just go ahead and get started. I'll be playing 4 short pieces from the Final Fantasy franchise composed by Nobuo Uematsu. We'll begin with my own arrangement of the Crystal Prelude. I hope you enjoy. Next piece is from Final Fantasy VII. It's called Chocobo Farm, also known as Farm Boy. This next piece is from Final Fantasy VI. It's called Phantom Forest. I hope you enjoy. This last piece that I'll be playing is called Forever Rachel. It is the more sad version of Locke's theme from Final Fantasy VI. I guess one day I could play the happy version, but today I'll be playing the more somber version of Locke's theme, Forever Rachel. We will now go to our first guest, Samantha Ballard, the harpist from Winnipeg, Canada. Samantha Ballard completed her Bachelor of Music degree at Columbia and enjoys a wide and exciting career. Currently, she is focused on creating arrangements from video games, anime, and film, as well as composing her own music in a new age soundtrack-inspired style. Her YouTube videos of her music performances have been viewed nearly 5 million times. In addition to several published singles, she has produced a Christmas album titled On Christmas Night, as well as video game music collection titled Guiding Light and Octopath Traveler Collection, both of which can be purchased online at her website, samanthaballardharp.com. So please join me in welcoming Samantha Ballard. Samantha, take it away.
All right. Well, thanks so much, Rich, for the introduction and beautiful set, by the way. Thanks so much for everyone watching for tuning in tonight. I'm really, really excited to be playing for you, along with some really incredible musicians. And we've got a really cool program tonight representing a really wide variety of video games. So I'm really, really excited about that. I'm going to be starting off with an indie favorite of mine. This song is called Four River from a game called To the Moon. So next up, I'm going to be playing another tune that was originally written for piano that I just couldn't resist playing on the harp. This is a video game classic that I'm sure many of you will recognize. It's To Xanarkand from Final Fantasy X. And just before I get into it, I'm just going to check the tuning of a couple of strings because it is springtime. And the changing humidity kind of wreaks havoc on my harp strings a little bit. So I'll check those. Okay, and we're good to go. So the next song I'm going to be playing for you is actually, I think, one of the favorite arrangements I've ever written. And if you've ever heard the title theme from the original Metroid game, you probably, if you're familiar with it, you probably wouldn't think harp when you hear it. But I think sometimes in those situations, that's where we can actually get the most creative when seemingly, you sit there and go, how am I going to make this work? Sometimes that's when kind of the magic happens. So I can talk about this a little bit more in the Q&A when I'm done. But for now, I just want to leave you with the images of the vastness of space, sparkling stars, and the excitement of adventure. So this is the Metroid title theme. All right, so if you're familiar with my work, you'll know that I'm a big fan of the Octopath Traveler soundtrack. It's one of my favorites of all time. And one of the things I think the composer Yasunori Nishiki did really, really well is particularly with the character themes. I think the way he wrote them, you can tell a lot about each character, even before you know their story. So today I'm going to be playing Primrose the Dancer. And with this arrangement, I really wanted to kind of show her narrative. She experiences a huge loss when she's a young girl and then experiences like really terrible hardship, becomes dead set on revenge. And then, you know, when she finally achieves her goal, there's still kind of this little girl inside her that I think still just kind of wants to find happiness. So this one is very special to me. So sorry, my headphones keep squishing my glasses up. So anyway. So maybe we should check some of these high notes, eh? Yeah, we'll check a couple of those. We want them to sound good. Okay, I think that ought to do it. Here is Primrose the Dancer. Okay, so I've got one more song in my set. This is another video game classic. It's perfect for harp. This is Zelda's Lullaby from the Legend of Zelda series.
Oh, thank you so much for that. That was a wonderful performance. Actually, before I get into any of my questions, have you ever played The Legend of Zelda for the Game Boy series with the town of Moblas? Because there's a lot of motivic connection that I hear between that and what you just played. And I actually never really played a lot of the Zeldas except for the Game Boy, so I'm kind of hearing a really interesting musical connection.
I never actually had a Game Boy, so I never played that
Oh,
one. Uh,
oh, okay.
but
Well, it's
yeah,
a wonderful little
I think
melody.
I mostly based this one more on the version from Ocarina of Time. But yeah.
Oh, great. So, from your biography, I know you've been playing harp and piano for a while. I was curious, when did you start, arranging music for video games and film and movies and whatnot?
Yeah, so I started arranging music after my first year of university. I would go on YouTube and look up videos of people playing Zelda music on the harp, and then I realized there wasn't one for Gerudo Valley, and I thought, well, I could do that, and then the rest is kind of history from there. So.
Is there a particular style of music that you find either more enjoyable to perform or maybe more idiomatic for the harp? I know, I mean, your performance had a nice eclectic variety of style, from the ethereal kind of Metroid to the Primrose had a lot more involvement. Is there a particular style that's more fun to play?
Um, I don't know. I don't think I've ever been asked that question before. I think I tend to be drawn to like quiet music and soft music and like pretty like kind of stuff you'd listen to when you're going to bed. That tends to be like what really resonates with me. But I know that like if I wanted to kind of mix things up a little bit for the program tonight, and like I do I do like to kind of get a little bit more exciting from time to time in my own work. So yeah.
Cool. So when you're transcribing music, I mean, what are your strategies when you come across passages that are completely not harp friendly, like completely, not idiomatic for you at all? I mean, what do you do? Because I know when it's for piano, I mean, as a performer or a composer or an arranger, it's really difficult to choose what to leave out, in order to remain authentic to the original. So what are some strategies that you employ when you're trying to when you come across those kinds of passages?
Um I think sometimes it really depends on the situation. Sometimes it is a matter of like not trying to be true to the original necessarily. Like, and I guess that's where you start arranging more so than transcribing. Like, if something really doesn't work, then, sometimes it works better just to take it in a completely different direction. Um, I think probably the thing that's usually the most problematic is when there's a lot of pedal work. So, for those who don't know, harps, kind of the way they work is that if you think about the strings, they're like the white keys of piano. And if I want to access the black keys on the piano, I have foot pedals on the bottom of my harp. There are also other kinds of harps that use levers for that purpose that you have to move with your hand. Um, but if I need to kind of do a lot of modulating or have a lot of sharps and flats, whatever, in one kind of place, that's when things sometimes get a little bit hairy. And sometimes it's just a matter of like leaving out notes or, just coming up with some kind of creative solution to to deal with that.
Great. Yeah, so when you're collaborating with others from the country, could you describe to people who might not be familiar with people who are able to, collaborate across the country where you would get maybe music that's already been done with a click track and then you kind of add your own part to it. Could you kind of describe that process for those who might not be familiar?
Yeah, so usually, if I'm collaborating with another person, the best case scenario for me is that, if they've reached out to me and asked me to kind of join them on a project, then they're, like you said, they're sending me the sheet music and they're sending me, something to play along with while I'm recording. So what I'll do then is, I'll take a look at the part. If there's anything that's kind of problematic harp wise, I'll kind of check in and say, hey, what do you think about this idea? I think it would solve this problem. And then, ultimately, if it's their project, then they have the final say. And then I would record my parts. Sometimes I'll film myself. Usually we'll be making a YouTube video. So I'll film myself either at the same time as I'm recording, or I'll kind of play along with what I recorded separately. Sometimes it's easier to focus on one thing at a time, and then I'll send my parts over to them, and then usually they'll take care of the editing and put it up. And of course, like if it's my project, then it's kind of going to be the opposite. I'll create all the sheet music and the backing track and all that stuff. And yeah.
Cool. So aside from your latest album on Octopath Traveler, I know that was a solo album. What other collaborations have you been involved with?
Oh, well, the last couple of years I've done quite a bit. I was very honored to be a part of Insane in the Rain Music's Cinovation album. Did some work with Purple Shala and Israfel Cello, Patty Rudisil. Did a Animal Crossing cover with Harp and Brooke Ferd. I was also part of the Game Brasstopia album that came out last year. And there's a few others too, but yeah, it's been a busy year, I would say, for collabs.
Oh, that's fantastic. Great. Well, Samantha, thank you so much again for joining us today. We really appreciate it. And so for anyone who's interested, they can visit your website, samanthaballardharp.com. And again, we really appreciate you joining in and performing for us. Thank you so much.
Thank you for having me.
Take care. Our next performer today.
Uh-oh.
Thank you, Rich. Thanks for that introduction. As Rich said, my name is Rob Kovacs, also performing as 88-bit. And today I'll be performing all music from the Nintendo Entertainment System. And I'm very excited to be here. And Samantha, that was a fantastic concert. The Metroid title theme is one of my favorite NES soundtracks and themes ever. And I loved your arrangement. So that was great. And I'm going to start off with a game called RC Pro-Am, composed by David Wise. And that's the whole soundtrack for RC Pro-Am. Very short. The next song is from a game called Castlevania 2, Simon's Quest, and composed by Kenichi Matsubara. And this is Bloody Tears. All right. Next piece will be a little longer. It is one of my favorite games ever. This is the entire soundtrack for a game called Marble Madness. It was originally composed for an arcade cabinet by Brad Fuller and Hal Cannon, and then ported to various systems, including the NES. And the NES port was done by David Wise, and he put a little bit of his spin on the piece as well. My arrangement is based on the NES version, which includes David Wise's arrangement as well. Here we go. Marble Madness, the complete soundtrack, all 6 levels. I have one more arrangement for you next, and then that'll be it. This is selections from Mega Man 2, composed by Takashi Tateishi. You'll hear part of the opening, the title screen, stage select, game start, and then bosses Metal Man, Air Man, Heat Man, the boss fight, and then a little bit of the credits. Here's Mega Man 2 by Takashi Tateishi.
Oh, thank you so much for that 88-bit. That was a fantastic performance. Oh, can you hear
Thanks
me?
so much.
Oh, fantastic.
Yep,
Great.
I hear you good.
Oh, that was wonderful. There's so many things I'd like to pick your brain about. The first thing I'd love to ask is, what got you into video game music as a pianist when you were younger? I mean, if you're anything like me, you've been arranging music for a while, but as a profession, like what got you into this as your main gig?
The first game I ever transcribed was a game called Seventh Guest. It's a computer game, and it's all MIDI. And I had a little MIDI keyboard, not MIDI keyboard, but like a small keyboard that could record multiple tracks. So I tried to take bits of those. This was like 7th grade or so. And that was my first time really trying to like learn video game music. And then it wasn't until maybe 2010 where I did some other stuff, did some Mario stuff with like bands and stuff. But really 2010, I decided to learn Airman from Mega Man 2. Like note for note. There were some videos on YouTube already of piano versions of that song, but nothing that I felt was really true to the actual song itself. So I was like, I want to try to get every single note, and which was definitely a challenge, and I wasn't good enough to do it yet. So I had to take a lot of practice. But that was the first. That was really it. Airman was really the main inspiration.
Oh, wow. Well, that was a fantastic performance. And my question, I guess, for that then, I mean, what do you do as an arranger when you come across something that is literally impossible as a pianist? I mean, fingering is one thing, but when you have like 3 registers all happening simultaneously, like bass notes pounding, middle registers, and then something up in the upper, I mean, what do you do for problem solving for issues like that?
That's the really fun stuff. So Mega Man 2 has a lot of that. Like in Metal Man, everything for once is like in the same range. Like the bass is right here, and the melody's right here, and then the third line is right here. So you got to spread them all up, but then you can't reach them. So I try to find ways that stretch my own ability. It's you end up playing things you'd never play by reading like traditional classical music or even contemporary classical music. It's forced me to find ways, play ways that I normally wouldn't. So yeah, if there's something that's really impossible, I don't know, I'm gonna try and find a way to do it, or at least get as close as possible as I can. That's part of the fun of this whole project.
Right. Well, I'm actually very interested in your Mega Man 2 and the choices of levels that you decided to include. Are these your favorite levels? Are these the more interesting ones to play? I mean, I know that they're not all that friendly for piano, so I guess I know you had to kind of stretch the register around. But what made you choose those 3 levels out of all the other bosses?
I don't know. I started with Airman. I just really liked it. I thought it'd work well on piano. Metal Man is one of my favorites in general. Heat Man is just such a cool thing, especially for the left hand. It's just a good. It's like a drill. It's really fun.
Right.
I'm going to do all of them, so it's just a matter of getting to them. I've started working on Flash Man, a little bit of Quick Man, Bubble Man is gonna be tough, Wood Man will be tough, but I'm going to get to them all eventually.
Right. It's interesting too. Your ordering of those levels is interesting. I mean, it kind of tells your own story as to how maybe how you played the game when you were a kid. I mean, for those in the audience who don't know, Mega Man was among one of the first games that made it so there was a non-linear way to play the game. You had a choice as to which level you wanted to do. And so when I hear you play this, and I'm thinking back to when I was a kid, I'm like, we always played Airman, and it was always Crash Man after that. Then it was always Metal Man. I mean, to the T, we did the same ordering every single time. And I'm curious as to whether or not your ordering is kind of your own retelling of how you played the game when you were a kid, or is it more of a musical hodgepodge as to what you think would sound better when you play the music in a row?
Well, I'm thinking about when I will have all the bosses. Should I do it in the I'm not quite sure yet. The order I pick now, Metal Man is usually one you traditionally start with, at least now. Like most people start with Metal Man. I started with Flash Man as a kid.
You started with Flash Man?
Yeah, Flash Man. Flash Man was a good one to start with. So I'm debating whether to do it musically once I get all the pieces, or to do it as as you would in the game. Like Metal Man beats Bubble Man, who beats Heat Man. So I might go in that order. I'm not sure yet, but we'll see.
Well, I think that's a question for Stefan Greenfield-Casas. I mean, he's interested in the idea of retelling the whole story of, your retelling of the game comes out in your retelling of the music. So, I mean, if you went that route, it'd be interesting for me, because I'd be like, I never played it like that. And so it's interesting to see different people play in a different order than you did when you were a kid.
I don't think anyone very rarely does people play it in the order that I think it was meant to be played in, but yeah, so we'll see. I might, we'll see once I get them all. We'll see.
Oh, well, I mean, everything you performed was just fantastic, and we really appreciate you coming in and joining us and sharing with your transcriptions, your arrangements. It was a wonderful performance, so we really appreciate it, 88-bit.
Thank you so much, Rich. Appreciate it. It's an honor to be here.
Well, thank you very much, and you take care.
You do.
All right, and you can visit 88bitmusic.com to see some of his videos and all of his arrangements. Our last performer for the group, or for the evening rather, is the Videri String Quartet. They were founded in 2012, and they're known for their use of interactive media during their performances of video game music and their ability to bring the music from games to audiences who are more familiar with the traditional repertoire. They performed across the country in many settings, and in 2015, they were chosen as a fellowship quartet for the Apple Hill Center for Chamber Music. In the onset of COVID-19 shutdowns, they hosted a competition called Quarantets, the focus of which was for composers and arrangers to create arrangements from a game whose story is based around quarantines, viruses, pandemics, diseases, and the like, many of which will be performed here tonight. You can visit their website at viderisq.com. And so without further delay, I'd like you to join me in welcoming the Videri String Quartet. Take it away.
Thanks, Richard. It's so wonderful to be here. We're really excited. We are the Videri String Quartet. I'm just going to go through names really quickly because I don't want to talk. I'd rather be playing. So we have Matheus Souza.
Wow, all of my last names.
On violin.
Yep.
And then joining us is Michael Hestetti and Ben Schwartz on cello. And I am Roselie Samter. I play the viola. And as Richard said, we are going... Every song we're playing tonight, except the last one, is from our Quarantets competition. So we're really excited. This is the first time you'll be hearing any of these live. This will be the first time anyone is hearing any of these live. So without further ado, we give you Quarantets.
Okay. I need to check after all this.
Wait for the cars to go by.
Those aren't cars, those are hogs.
Should we take a quick egg?
That'd be nice. Quick tuning break.
This wasn't on the program.
Thank you all for the claps. We also wanted to say great job to Rob and Samantha. They sounded amazing. and great sets. Awesome music.
Can I take a quick?
My mom is on chat.
I
My
love
dad.
your mom. They're our biggest fans. We have one more piece left. Once again, thank you so much. It is so incredible to be able to play live music with live people all in the same room. So thank you so much, Prince George Community College and Richard for putting this together. And once again, thank you, Samantha and Rob. Your sets were fantastic. We're so happy to be on a concert bill with you. So we have one more song, and this song is not from Quartets. This is one of Vaderi's first arrangements. It is from Journey by Austin Wintory, arranged by Eli Bishop. And this is really is like the first arrangement that Vaderi recorded and played. So coming full circle.
Oh, thank you so much. That was fantastic. What an incredible way to
Thank you so
end
much.
our show. Oh, thank you. No, that was wonderful. What a so much energy and so much just passion. It was such a great performance. I mean, I have so many questions that I could ask, but I'm actually really interested. I was reading your webpage and talked about how you were you played a Haydn quartet for a concert, and you also paired the Haydn with some video game music, and you had a whole bunch of people coming up and saying that they had never heard this kind of music before. I was wondering if you could speak to that whole kind of integration of video game music, non-traditional canonic music, with the traditional repertoire, and how that's met with audiences that you perform for.
So this is actually something we love doing. So and we did that particular story we played at GDC, the Game Developers Conference in San Francisco, and we played a whole full program of video game music, and then played a movement of a Haydn. It was like D major Haydn. Yeah, and we had so many people come up to us afterwards. A lot of the composers, like one composer, he was like, I needed this. It was a breath of fresh air. And a lot of the attendees, really, they're like, what game is that from? Yeah. So we need to make up if anybody has a good game that we could pretend that's in, let me know.
One of the Tetrises.
But we
work,
did.
Right?
There you go. We did start really focusing, like currently this is the only program we've played in like 2 years that does not have a piece of classical music on it.
That's true, yeah.
And we've really tried to incorporate both classical and video game music, because we all grew up playing traditional string quartet repertoire. That's like, I think the only thing that I love more than Beethoven is horses. So
and you can find horses in Zelda. So
but yeah, so we feel very strongly, and we actually started playing Haydn to strengthen our quartet skills. And then we were like, why aren't we performing this? Because people love it. So we started sneaking in like Haydn, and we started sneaking in Britain, and people loved it.
Yeah, and also, we also started finding all these similarities in approach and motivic treatment, and also like one of the pairings we did was with this last piece that you heard, the Nascence from Journey. We paired it with a Dvorak movement from the American String Quartet, and both of them have such similar vibes.
Yeah. I mean, Journey starts with a solo cello, it's based on folk music. And Dvorak as well, the entire American String Quartet is based on folk music.
Yes.
Big cello solo in both of them.
Yeah.
Right.
So that's something we feel very strongly about. And the reception has been incredible, both from the video game music community and also the classical music community. So it's wonderful to see those it's wonderful to see people like both.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, no, I mean, I think if we want to, I mean, if people are trying to, so-called save the orchestras or the world of traditional music, I think it's time to blend and incorporate all kinds of music, because everything has its own merit. And I mean, Beethoven, Haydn, I mean, it's wonderful stuff, and to hear it paired with other music would be. I've never actually been to a concert where you do hear a Beethoven quartet followed by maybe a. Well, actually, that leads me to my next question. I'm curious. I mean, a lot of the pieces that you played were all single movements. I'm wondering if any of you or any of the people who have arranged music for you have ever done the 4-movement string quartet arrangement of a particular video game, similar to how we have some kind of symphonic poems that are being written or arranged, of like the Final Fantasy symphonic poem or the Final Fantasy VII Symphony. Have you ever been involved in these kinds of arrangements in a 4-movement setting?
So we haven't done like
We did there's an Undertale suite.
Oh, that's right. Yeah.
Yeah, we have an Undertale suite that is, has that kind of treatment with like several movements, kind of like following an arch. We did one of our last performances that we did in person was in the last Megfest.
Oh, that's
And
right, yeah.
we had a friend of ours, great dear friend of ours, Ben Wallace, arrange a kind of like a segue between the first movement of Rosamunda Quartet with Zelda. Yeah, and it was genius. And there were moments where you couldn't tell what was Schubert and what was Koji Kondo. Yeah. And anyway, it was a lot of fun.
And like we did again too. Actually, we have 3 people in our audience here, which is great. And I was talking to one of them in the car to a gig one time, and I was like, "Yeah, we're gonna start playing like classical music together." And I was like, "Yeah, we're gonna, we want to play Ravel." And he was like, "Oh, with Mario?"
Oh yes, we did Ravel and Mario. Yeah.
And it was like before I even finished saying what I wanted, like that I was saying, another musician was already following our exact train of thought. So it's this music, like you said, it's all good music, and it all goes together. There's so many tie-ins. So
Right. No, I mean, it's yeah. I'm couldn't agree more with that statement. I'm curious because I mean the other performers in the concert today are solo artists, and I can imagine that it would be a little bit more or easier for a solo artist to get involved in this kind of music, because I mean you want to play it, you learn it, and you play it. Was it difficult for you as a group to find each other who were interested and shared the same passion for not only the traditional repertoire but others as well? If you could speak to that a little bit.
So, absolutely, I cannot agree with what you said more. It is it's like herding cats, and you might have noticed we were kept on shuffling a cat around because she was playing with our speakers or our wires, so
Yeah,
we couldn't hear half the time.
Yeah.
But it is like herding cats, and especially when you first start out as a quartet, because there are so many costs involved, because we're all giggy musicians. This is how we make our living. It's hard to carve out time for a free project. So you have to find people who are 100% on board, and you all have the same goal as the quartet. And so we're coming up to 2022 will be 10 years as a quartet.
Mm-hmm.
And we have cycled through a lot of different violinists. In fact, Michael played in the quartet for 3 years, and then he went on to do other things, and he joined us back again because Eli Bishop was not able to make it. He couldn't travel due to COVID. So, so it's like we do have, it's like there is a lot of turnover. That's just the way a group works, and you kind of have to just go with it.
Yep.
So
I don't know. Yeah, I can also speak of personal experience. I have to say, I have been studying violin since I can remember, right? And also, since I can remember, I've been a fan of video game music. I remember the first time I ever got in touch with a digital audio workstation, I was immediately just trying to play the 3 lines, the 3 parts of the Super Mario theme, and it was actually by chance that I was a teaching assistant for a music theory professor and I was setting up this room together with this teaching assistant, and we got done a little earlier. And so he sat at the piano and started playing video game music. And then I immediately thought like, oh, no way, I want to get in that. And then so I grabbed my violin and we started jamming and we have a great time. And then, then he let me know that there were video game music conferences. And I'm like, really? What? How's that possible? And then so I started going to that and then meeting more people. And then, I feel like the music world is already a small world. And then, the video game music world is even smaller in some ways. To find like the musicians at least in it.
And finding classical musicians who also are in love with video game music you don't think it's easy, but then you just stumble upon people like Matheus.
Oh, right. Well, especially considering how much more popular some of the games are getting. I mean, with the advent of a lot of independent video games, and of course, people who are now, they have parents who may remember Mario when it came out, or Mario's like what 40 years old now. I mean, he's a cultural icon. So I mean, everyone knows the music. So no, that's really, really cool. I mean, I would imagine that there would be some turnover in a group, but it's wonderful to see that you're able to maintain a nice level of cohesion and still perform together after a decade. Is there a particular time period of games that you're more interested in performing? I mean, do you have a deep passion for modern music, or do you enjoy playing more games from music rather from the 8-bit, 16, 32-bit? I mean, is there a particular time period or style that you enjoy playing as a group?
We actually make an effort to play from all the different styles. Like we really try to cover all of them, especially because even within the quartet, we all play very different games.
Yeah. Also, I think it's one of the things that we pride ourselves on. I think we consider ourselves omnivorous musicians. Yes. Some of us in the group may have even actual dietary restrictions, but not with music. And
it's me. I'm allergic to everything.
I'm allergic to a few things too. So anyway.
Or are any of you composers as well as arrangers, or?
I think mostly, I do a little bit of arranging once in a while. Yes, very, very little composer. I wouldn't call myself a composer.
I do not arrange or compose at all. So,
when you initiated your quartet competition, I'm curious how many submissions were you getting in something like this? If that's a question that I can ask, kind of, it's curious as to how well was it received by the arrangers in the music world.
So, it was received very well. In fact, it was received much more well than we ever anticipated.
Fantastic.
Yes.
Yes. We because basically we were actually in New York City rehearsing the weekend that quarantine. Oh, the cat. This is Helvetica. If you see her walking around, she keeps on carrying my headphone cables with her. We were in New York City rehearsing the weekend that COVID shut down everything. And thankfully we didn't go anywhere because we just rehearsed. But once COVID shut everything down, we were all we just were watching gigs, gig after gig after gig drop off the calendars. Mm-hmm. And it was all of our students gone. So it's we lost all of our music in a heartbeat. And I don't know about the rest of you, but I was panicking. And I was I need to keep playing. How can we do this? And how also we're stuck inside. How do we as a music community continue to reach out?
Yeah, at the same time that our performances were getting canceled, also friends of ours who were composers and arrangers were also getting work canceled because the works that they were commissioned to write were for performances that were canceled. And then all of a sudden,
right, it was a giant domino effect within the world of music.
Exactly.
Yeah. So we ended up putting the quartet's competition together in 2 weeks, and then it was open for a month, and then we did the judging. But to answer your question, we anticipated 20 arrangements. That was kind of what we were thinking, and we got 65.
Yeah.
Oh my goodness.
So we spent 3 days of judging just sitting on Zoom together,
Yeah.
like listening to quartets and then talking about them. And we had like a grading sheet.
Yeah.
So,
Oh wow,
but I really like
that's a lot of submissions.
it was pretty intense. But I mean, like we were blown away and still blown away. Like this is even after this concert, I'm like, I can't believe the level that these arrangers are.
Oh no, these are,
writing
I mean,
at.
these
This
are
is
top-notch arrangements. These are some wonderful pieces of music, and I'm so glad that you're able to sit in the same room together and perform live, because it's been so long since we've had anything like that. So that was it was wonderful.
So I just want to make this quick note, but because it's so true. But the winning arrangement, the title is "Alone We Have No Future," and I was like, how much more perfect can that be for COVID? Because it's so true. Like, I know I was extremely depressed and anxious and all the things when I was stuck by myself in my apartment, and this is what I love, and you can't do it alone.
No, you can't. I mean, it's all about collaboration, and it's all about, meeting people and making music with each other. So we really appreciate you being able to perform for us, and it was a wonderful performance. We really thank you for it.
Thank you for putting this together.
Yeah, thank you for having us.
Yeah, you gave us an excuse to play together, so thank you.
Oh, I'm if that's all I was able to do, I am glad that I was able to do it. So thank you so much, and we really appreciate it. And again, anyone who'd like to see more can go to VaderiSQ.com. And again, thank you so much.
Thank
Thank
you.
You guys take care.
You too.
All right. Well, that's actually all of our program for the evening. So I'd like to thank everyone for joining us tonight. I'd especially like to thank the TV staff here at Prince George's Community College, everyone who helped make all of this possible, are behind the cameras, behind the set, doing audio and video and all the things that I have no idea how to do. So I am eternally grateful for everything everyone here has been able to do for us, and including the administration here at Prince George's Community College. So again, my deepest gratitude for everyone involved, and thank you again for tuning in and watching us. We hope to see you again next time.